So Rakesh Menon, people used to think a decade before like cancer is a disease of the old and it will only happen to our grandparents or great grandparents and stuff like that. But now we know that that is not the case. It is not a disease of the old. That perception has actually changed, right?
Absolutely, I think it's very startling to see that when you look at data of the diseases which where typically, if you look at diabetes or something like that, critical diseases which we look at, what used to happen at 40 earlier is now happening to people at 30. Now, if you ask what is the root cause of this, it is mainly the lifestyle, the environment which they live in, the kind of stress people are in right now. So all these factors actually, and definitely chance. People get cancer by, you cannot explain why somebody got cancer. Some of the cancers are genetic, some just happen. So there's no reason. So definitely, cancer is no longer, like you rightly told, it's no longer a disease of the old. Now anybody is susceptible to cancer. The stats actually at Previu, we have seen that 1 in 8 actually are at risk of having cancer. So the only way to stop that is early detection. That's the only way, because the body itself will try to fight cancer, right? And therefore, what happens is, the earlier you detect, that's the best way to have a good quality life forward.
So can you please elaborate on that 1 out of 8 number? I still have it here. So what did you mean by that? Is it only in India or the world, and how is it?
This is in India, specifically in India. And in India, the studies done by Tata, because Tata has actually pioneered cancer care in India. They've set up and spent more than 20,000 crore worth of, they set up apex institutions for treating cancer across. This is one of Sri Ratan Tata's pet projects, actually, cancer care. And at Previu, we offer homage, to Sri Ratan Tata. Previu came because of being inspired by Sri Ratan Tata. In fact, Sri Krishna got an opportunity to work closely with Sri Ratan Tata and the senior Tata team, actually. So he's an ex-Tata person. So the DNA at Previu is inspired by, the need to serve people, so that is, and being sustainable, yeah.
And this 1:8 that you asked a question, right? What it basically says is, in a lifetime, we are talking about a risk of 1 in 8 of 8 people will have at a risk of getting a cancer. That is what that ratio means, just to clarify on that. Absolutely. So I think in India per se, it's like today we are talking about 3 million live cases actually of cancer cases are there, right? And then it's adding at 1 million per year, just to give you a magnitude of the entire thing, right? It doesn't see age, it doesn't see which is social strata you are coming from. Cancer is completely agnostic to all these things. That makes it even more thing to say that, how do we make this entire thing affordable care for all of them? Because it doesn't, you must have heard a lot of stories, right, as personally also. It doesn't have any discrimination on social strata or anything. No, there is absolutely no, as Rakesh was saying, that you cannot pinpoint and say, this is why I got cancer. There are people, who don't smoke, but they end up getting lung cancer. That's the kind of a thing. But yeah, definitely, all the more reason we have to make a cancer care diagnostics, actually, early diagnosis, because we have seen a huge, there is a lot of published articles where if you detect early, the survival rates are much bigger. Correct? Yeah. So that is where the focus is.
Before we go to that early detection and prevention, I would like to know, what is the current scenario in the country? What is the cancer care infrastructure like, Mr. Rakesh Menon?
So the current scenario in the country is that the cancer burden and the incidences are rapidly increasing across the country. It is, for want of better words, it is something more serious than corona. Though we don't talk about it much, but the truth is every family has a cancer incidence, and they never talk about it. That's a stigma we need to kind of break and ensure people discuss about it. And it has a lot of mental health issues also. I can just relate to one family who lost somebody, who was in the Middle East for a long time, lost their life to lung cancer, despite having stopped smoking many years back. and it has devastated the entire family. And so it has a huge impact. It changes people's lives. So the infrastructure is currently not there. And what Previu actually does right now is to take cancer care closer, to people, especially in tier 2 and tier 3 cities across the country. There's so much of demand right now that 100 of us companies like Previu come forward. There's still a lack because currently cancer care is only focused in the metros. So most of the care which is there, for example, if I take radiation oncology, the availability of radiation facilities in the rural sectors is next to nil today. There's so much of demand, and this is something which we're trying to set up comprehensive oncology centers. Actually, it's not just, though we are starting off with medical oncology where the capital investment is less, but surgical oncology and radiation oncology is we need. Cancer care is a total of these three things. So that is where the vision is, and that's where we are heading to, and out of the metros into the smaller town cities. Yeah.
And there is another thing that you mentioned, and that is about the early detection. So, and as you said, every other household, you will hear about one story of a cancer. So I lost my grandmother to cancer.
Sorry
we
to hear.
detected it when it was stage 4. But my aunt, we detected it when, in the early stages. So I would say the first stage, right?
Right.
And she was completely cured. It has been 8 years and everything is fine with her. So that is one thing I would like to ask you both about the detection, early detection. So how does it work in Previu?
So I think firstly, you have experienced it firsthand. When you lost your grandmother, who was kind of in diagnosed at stage 4, and versus your aunt at who's hale and hearty at stage 6. So definitely the message is very clear. Early detection is the only way to cure cancer. And what do we do at Previu for early detection? We have a test which is primarily looking at early detection of a simple blood test called HRC, and which is only uniquely with Previu today. Captures around 35 types of cancer pre-tumor, which is the most important thing, which is at stage 0 and 1, which gives somebody a chance of survival of 90% plus. That's a survival chances you have. Right. Other than that, there are so many tests which can be done. For example, for cervical cancer, we have got HPV screening, which is done. It's the number 1 killer in the country today, and mostly in rural communities. So there, we have actually screened 20,000 people plus for cervical cancer, and out of every 100 people we have screened, and screening, we have identified cervical cancer at early stage 4 incidences out of 100.
Oh.
So 4 to 5% is the rate of incidence when you screen people. So screening is very important for as part of prevention. Vaccinations. Given that we are a national partner in the mission with Serum Institute, Previu is a partner with Serum Institute against cervical cancer. Vaccinations is very important, and this is a government objective as well. Not only government. A WHO objective, a UN objective. So we are aligned totally to global SDGs as they call, right? So therefore, definitely prevention is a way to go. We have a few tests and vaccinations which we can do. Screening is something which will detect early, and when we detect early, we also have centers to kind of ensure they're treated as well.